Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. So, without wasting the time, we will be starting the role of cardiac imaging in autoimmune disorder. So, we all know that the systemic autoimmune disorders are a group of different pathologies and with a common pathogenetic mechanism that occurs due to the lack of the loss of the physiological response to the self-antigen. Being a cardiologist, we encounter a lot of autoimmune disorders which presents with a cardiac involvement. There is a long list of autoimmune disorders that involves the heart, but to name a few, these are the common disorders which involve the heart, such as rheumatoid arthritis, SLE, primary antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, systemic vasculitis, myositis, and systemic sclerosis. So, aside the cardiovascular, conventional cardiovascular risk factors, what are the things that increases the cardiovascular morbidity and mortality in patients with autoimmune disorders? Here they are: the enhanced atherosclerosis, the disease, autoimmune disease specific risk factors, the duration of the disease, the activity level of the disease, how active the disease at that time, and the treatment on which the disease is specifically on, because it itself alter the affect the cardiac involvement in patient with autoimmune disorders. Almost all the components of the heart are involved in the autoimmune disorders, like the valves, causing the valvular regurgitation more commonly than the stenosis, coronary arteries, rhythm and conduction disorders, myocardium, endocardium, pericardium, leading to the myocarditis, endocarditis and pericarditis, and also the myocardial fibrosis. Pulmonary hypertension, and not only the pulmonary hypertension, it can lead to systolic and diastolic heart failure. So, what are the common mechanisms of cardiac involvement in these autoimmune disorders? It comes from in the SLE, it's the autoantibody mediated damage to the heart in patient with SLE. In rheumatoid arthritis, it's the chronic inflammation that leads to the cardiac involvement. It is well established fact that the patient with the rheumatoid arthritis have twofold increased risk of atherosclerotic coronary artery disease just because of the derangement of the lipid metabolism, endothelial dysfunction and the vascular inflammation. In systemic sclerosis is the fibrotic process that involves the heart, and in vasculitis there is the inflammation of the blood vessels that leads to the narrowing of the blood vessels. In sarcoidosis, there is the granulomatous infiltration of the heart, and in myositis that there is an inflammation that leads to the fibrosis and involvement of the heart, causing systolic and diastolic heart failure. So, here's a case of a 26-year-old female labeled as seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. On the initial screening, she presented with only asymptomatic mild pericardial effusion. A few months after, she presented with right hemiplegia and dysarthria. On the workup, her echocardiogram shows this linear echogenic density on the mitral valve that is causing the significant mitral regurgitation. Keeping in mind that the patient is having the embolic phenomena, this patient is remain treated for infective endocarditis. But importantly, that all of her blood cultures turned out to be negative. This patient underwent mitral valve replacement because of the mitral regurgitation, and surprisingly, the histopathology of this vegetation-like lesion, the echo density turned out to be a rheumatoid nodules with the central necrosis and the palisading histiocytes and the peripheral edema. So, this is the routine echocardiogram that is important in the autoimmune disorder. What's the rationale of doing the cardiac imaging? It's the early detection and the risk stratification in patient with autoimmune disorder to identify the cardiac involvement, early identification of cardiovascular involvement in patient with autoimmune disorders. So, it's not only the early identification and risk stratification, it's the tracking of the disease process, involvement of the cardiac involvement and the response of the treatment, either in the form of the disease itself but also the cardiac involvement, either the cardiac involvement is progressing or remain static or improving with the treatment of the autoimmune disorder. So starting with the cardiac imaging of basic, the early screening test is the echocardiogram. We have the 2D transthoracic TEE echocardiogram, we have 3D transthoracic transesophageal, we have the stress echocardiogram, and we have the speckle tracking, that is a strain deformation. One by one, this is a case of a patient with autoimmune disorder in which we got a lot of data from the transthoracic echocardiogram. This patient is having the pulmonary hypertension, right-sided dilatation along with the dysfunction. So all the conventional parameters of the RV dysfunction on the pulmonary hypertension, we can get the data from the transthoracic echocardiogram alone. So 2D and 3D transthoracic echocardiogram, it should be the initial screening test, as it is easily available, inexpensive. Moving forward from 2D to 3D, it is diagnostically more accurate, but its availability is an issue. The Doppler analysis with the help of the 2D echo will tell us a lot about, like in this case, we can tell a lot of things about the pulmonary hypertension, valvular hemodynamics, or the filling pressures of both the ventricles. We all know that the transthoracic echocardiogram has limited sensitivity and specificity. To overcome this, we have the TEE examination that is more sensitive. Not only we can find out the more anatomical precision by the help of TEE, it can also tell us the more detailed anatomical structures, like we can identify the rheumatoid nodules, limb and sac vegetation, thrombus on the vegetation, which we can miss on the transthoracic echocardiogram. So talking about the stress echocardiography, we can identify the coronary involvement by digging out the wall motion abnormalities. We can risk stratify these patients. We can exercise the patient with autoimmune disorders to induce a pulmonary hypertension, and we can also look into the contractile reserve. Talking about the strain, Dr. Huma has covered a lot about the strain imaging. If a patient comes with autoimmune disorders and develop the LV dysfunction, it is already late. We can tell the preclinical LV dysfunction by the help of the strain imaging. Also, the STE-derived matrix of RV contractility can be helpful in patients with autoimmune disorders. We all know that we have the limitation of transthoracic and TEE examination, including the availability, cost, and inter-vendor variability in case of strain imaging. So to overcome these images, we have the advanced imaging modalities like cardiac CMR, PET-CT, SPECT, and cardiac CT. Cardiac CT in autoimmune disorders tell us a lot about the pericardial involvement, exact extent and location of the pericardial thickening and pericardial fibrosis. And cardiac CT can be helpful in identifying the pericardial thickening, as well as we can do the calcium scoring in patients with autoimmune disorders. Coronary CTA will tell us about the epicardial coronaries not only, but also the anomalous coronaries as well as. With the help of CT, we can rule out the vasculitis, including small, medium, and large vessel vasculitis. And coronary CTA along with the FFR is a novel imaging modality we will discuss in a few minutes. This is a patient with psoriatic arthritis. On the left panel, there is the 3D volume rendered CTA images showing the occluded middle left coronary artery, and the curved multiplanar images on the middle also showing that there is a plaque along with the lesion in the mid-LAD. This is a similar patient with the same patient presentation with a patient with the rheumatoid arthritis lesion, 3D volume rendered images with a 3D volume rendered images showing the lesion in the mid-LAD with a moderate plaque in the curved multiplanar reconstruction images. So we have the limitation of the CT as well, including the radiation exposure, contrast energy, and the renal involvement. So we have a new modality in town, that is a CMR in the autoimmune disorder. In case of CMR, the late gadolinium enhancement tell us more about the myocardial fibrosis, scar versus inflammation. The T2 mapping tell us about the myocardial pericardial inflammation. It gives information about the edema, that is the early and the sensitive marker of the myocardial and pericardial inflammation. Cine balance images for structure and function involvement, and stress imaging with the CMR for the microvascular and the epicardial coronary involvement. Not only we can locate the site of the inflammation, pericardial inflammation, the quantitative assessment of the pericardial inflammation can tell us about the disease progression later when the patient is on treatment. See, MRA. MRA is also the imaging modality that is highly sensitive with a negative predictive value and overall accuracy for detecting the coronary artery disease. I'll skip this. We have the limitation, like if a patient is having coronary size is less than 1.5 millimeter, it will be limited from the CMRA to comment on the lesion, distal lesions. Similarly, the MRA is not an exercise dependent exam. These are all the limitations of the CMR. Also, most importantly, the cost and the availability and the expertise to report the CMR. Cardiac SPECT and PAT. The cardiac SPECT tell us about the functional assessment of perfusion imaging of the heart, but it is very sensitive, but it's less specific. And the PET imaging, along with the new radio labeled tracer, we can tell about the detection of the myocardial ischemia, particularly useful in patients with epicardial and microvascular assessment. FGD PET tell us about the myocarditis and the inflammatory cardiomyopathies more specifically than the other modalities. Although CMR and PET, FGD PET are both have highly sensitive and comparable, the wider availability of the CMR in comparison to the FGD PET make it more the better choice in these patients with the either the cardiac inflammatory or the ischemic heart disease evaluation. So we have the limitation. I'll skip this slide just because of the time. Okay, a few slides about the advanced cardiac imaging biomarkers in autoimmune disorders. Here is the myocardial contrast echocardiography, an emerging imaging technique that can tell us a lot about the global, regional, and even layer-specific strain in the patient with autoimmune disorders. This is the pericoronary adipose tissue fat attenuation index. With the help of that, we can tell us with very confident about the plaque in the coronaries. CT perfusion image is a novel and emerging method to assess the myocardial ischemia and flow limiting disease, photon counting, spectral enhanced detection resolution. DT-CMR and 4D CMR flow are also very helpful in novel imaging markers on which we can use them to evaluate the cardiac involvement in patients with autoimmune disorders. And last but not the least, the molecular imaging. This is a highly selective PET probes extend the application beyond the current use of the PET MPI for the myocardial blood flow and FGD PET for the myocardial inflammation. To summarize this, I would say one point: there is no single cardiac imaging modality which we can offer to evaluate the patient with the autoimmune disorders. It's all about the stage of the disease or what is our purpose for in patient with autoimmune disorder, whether to screen, whether to diagnose, or whether to monitor the progress of the disease in autoimmune disorder. So choice would be dependent on our target, what we want to in these autoimmune disorders patient. And secondly, the availability, cost, and the expertise to utilize these cardiac imaging in the autoimmune disorder. Thank you so much.